Hey everyone, welcome to today's review session. As promised in my prior video, I am going to be holding myself accountable by making these videos, documenting my trades, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, and I'm going to put it out there publicly, in the public eye, because I'm trying to get over some bad habits, and also I'm wanting to do this as a reflection, something that I can come back and watch myself, and maybe it'll help someone else out there. So let's dive into today. Overall today, I'm actually pretty proud of myself today, in a general sense. There's some things that I did wrong, there's some things I did right, I made a few mistakes, and I did some things really well. So let's talk about it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is something I touched on in my video yesterday, which is when it comes to rules, and you're implementing rules, sometimes these things will influence or have impact on your personal life too. And I was starting to realize that, and that, sure enough, came to full fruition today, and I want to talk through it. It's definitely something I am owning and I need to work on, and again, as a reflection piece, I'm recognizing it better. So hopefully I can become not just a better trader, but overall a better person. So this morning, of course, today is CPI day, and this morning CPI was going to drop pre-market for me, which was 5:30, and coming into the day, I knew that it was going to be CPI day. I knew that it was going to be an important trading day. Markets were probably going to be very volatile. It probably was going to provide a lot of good opportunity, and for some reason, I did not communicate that with my wife, because my wife and I have this agreement about who's going to take the kids to daycare and on what days, and if I'm dropping off or picking up, whatever, and vice versa. And for some reason, I didn't tell her that, hey, today was an important trading day. Can we switch days so that I can focus on this? This is really important to me. I didn't do that. And because of my inaction, I missed out on the trade that I had been watching and waiting for the last several days, that had been building up. And I have really no one to blame but myself. And that's this move here, pretty much the big downturn move of the day. And we'll talk about it, but just as a kind of a lessons learned from not just a trading aspect, but from a life aspect, if I know that there's going to be an important trading day coming up, I need to make sure that I'm communicating that with my wife, because this is important to me and I want to get really good at it, because I'm trying to build a better future for all of us, for myself and my family. So I need to be better communicative with my wife. All right, so let's talk about that trade. And I think we touched on it a little bit yesterday, but this is something I have been, again, watching for. I mean, you can see here on the 15-minute, we are just consolidating. And today, for CPI, is when the move happened. And that was the move that I had been talking about yesterday, with all the low resistance liquidity and just all this buildup here. Finally started to get taken. Now, it didn't fully get taken all the way down, but for a good portion of it, it did. It came right into this fair value gap you can see, which crosses over this internal high here, and it was perfect. I missed it. And I'm not blaming taking my kids to daycare or anything like that, but I'm blaming myself for not communicating properly with my wife. So that sucks. And I definitely felt some way about it. I felt angry with myself. I was definitely upset that I missed the move, so I felt that FOMO, fear of missing out. And so on my way back home from dropping the kids off, I told myself, all right, when we get home, let's just focus on work. Let's not focus on trying to make any trades. Unless there's a really, really good setup, we need to be hands off, because we're way too emotional and too dialed in. All right, so now I want to talk about getting into some of the trades that I took today. There were definitely some okay ones. There were two good ones, and we'll talk about why they were real good. And then there was a couple mistakes. In addition, I also allowed myself to take some trades that I'm not overly comfortable with or familiar with yet. I was kind of taking them with my community so I can try and learn, but I was doing it really low size and risking very small since I'm on the micros, so I was totally okay with that happening. So let's dive in and talk about it. Okay, well, I don't know why it's not showing my executions. I'll have to figure that out. So maybe it's because we're already past the end of day. All right, so after the CPI move happened this morning, I started to take a few trades. So up here in this area, we had some low resistance liquidity. I did enter in there, and I don't remember exactly what my numbers were because unfortunately they're not populating for me for some reason. But I believe I entered down here on this fair value gap here, and I wrote it to, I think it was this high or somewhere right in here. It wasn't much. I think it was only for like 2 or 3 contracts, maybe 4 contracts. And because it's such a short move, it only ended up being like, remember this is on the micros, so it only ended up being like maybe $100 or so. I don't remember exactly. So it was a nice little scalp for the morning. And then after that is when I had to leave to take the kids to daycare, and that's when the move happened. So we have our consolidation here, manipulation, and then the move. And oh man, it was just beautiful. It was the perfect setup, perfect AMD setup, and 100% I would have taken that. And kind of still a little, tiffed that I wasn't here to take it, because man, what a move it was, all the way down. So that kind of sucks, but that's okay. It's all right, lessons learned, and I'm going to take it forward. Price came down, and then it started to retrace back up, and I was waiting to see if this was going to become our swing high, and sure enough, it did. So we have a displacement candle. This becomes our market structure shift. We have fair value gaps kind of throughout here, etc. So I'm now watching this because I'm either waiting for price to come back down into a fair value gap and tap and run, but it really didn't happen down here, and so I was waiting to see what price was going to do. And price just kept on going, and as price kept on going, I thought, okay, it's probably going to take these equal highs here from the down move. And we also had, I believe, on a bigger time frame, I think this is an order block possibly, or even a fair value gap. I don't remember why I have this box here. I think it's probably just a standard fair value gap. So anyways, it's a draw, right? And price is coming to it. And so sure enough, price comes right to it, starts to react a little bit, but it doesn't really push down. In fact, it continues past through, which tells me that it's going to want to come right up to the external side here, external sell side, or external buy side. And one of two things are going to happen at external buy side. We're either going to see a sweep or we're going to see a continuation. It's one of those two. And for me, I feel I'm very confident with these types of trades. When it comes to sweeping external liquidity, that's my jam. Like I'm real good at detecting those and being able to trade those because it's a pretty simple setup. So for example, like with this, so we're down at the 1 minute, right? So at the 1 minute, we have our sweep here of the external buy side liquidity. And we can see that it is a sweep on the 1 minute because look at the delivery here, right? These are all kind of major green candles. And as it gets up here, we now have our red candle and then an immediate following down candle as well. And then more and more. Like, so what is this telling me? This is telling me that the state of delivery has immediately and abruptly changed, which aligns with it being a liquidity sweep. So now I'm looking for a a swing low to be put in, which happens right here. And then the next thing I'm looking for is a market structure shift, which happens right here. And then as part of that market structure shift, I'm looking for a fair value gap to open. And there are two that open. There's the one that opens right here, which is above the swing low. And there's also the fair value gap that happens to pass right through the swing low, which is like quite literally the middle of the fair value gap. Look at that right there. Perfect. So I went ahead and put my short orders in here. I think I got in for 4 contracts. I think it was 4 contracts. I probably, honestly, with how good of a setup this was, I probably could have gone to my full position, but I'm still getting used to micros and the risk factor difference, so wasn't quite ready for that. But anyways, I set it, it tapped it literally to the tick. It was perfect. And I set my stop loss above the recent swing high, which is right here, and started to let it run. I mean, it's you can't ask for a better setup, a better trade. I mean, it's A+, 100% all the way. My first TP target was kind of this area because we have a few relative equal lows, just some kind of liquidity building up around here. So I ran out my box and I put my first TP target just below that box area, that liquidity area, snapped it, and you'll see here this white line. Again, this is from the equal highs here, which is going to act as a sort of resistance. And sure enough, price bounces off it a couple times and continues on down. And I set my second TP. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. So I actually set my second TP for the swing high here from that initial move back up. But price actually never ended up coming back down. And so I was actually moving my stop loss up into profits along the way. And as price was kind of consolidating here, it did come up and tap my stop loss right here. I think it was right here or right here, one of those two, which is kind of funny because price did end up coming down and smacking the swing high, but that's okay. I think I made like something like $700, $800 from that. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This is the type of setup that I primarily trade. External liquidity sweeps are very easy for me to identify when it's set up like this. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. Super dumb clear. So going forward, I'm going to try and up my size when these types of setups happen, and it's super dumb clear because why not? All right. Now here's where I kind of started to make some mistakes. So following that, I was waiting to see if there was going to be another setup, and of course I was trying to work during this time too, so I'm starting to learn that I need to try and separate out time for the two as much as possible, which is really difficult with my job. But I was taking trades kind of in here for setups that I'm not overly comfortable with. I just wanted to try it. I was doing kind of low size, 2 contracts a piece, but I was taking quite a few trades. I think I took like probably 6+ trades, and unfortunately that did add up a bit. So I think I lost something like 150, maybe 175 between all of that. So all of this was kind of consolidating, and one of the mistakes I made was right here. So when these 2 candles came in succession, I mistakenly thought that this was a displacement down through the low here. But it wasn't. These are 2 separate candles. It is not a displacement. You can see that it wicks below it, but it doesn't displace below it. The body doesn't. Remember, the body tells the story. The wicks do the damage. So unfortunately, that was a mistake. I didn't realize it at the moment. I'm still learning. That's all right. Unfortunately, because I thought it was a displacement and it was a market structure shift and forming a fair value gap, which it did. in all fairness, it did form a fair value gap. I got in here on this swing high, and I put my stop above here, and as price was moving towards it and not in the direction of my favor, I did go ahead and close out the position. Unfortunately, it was kind of a heavy loss there, along with the additional losses from the others. So I think I was down like probably like $200 or $300 that I had given back at that point. And so I decided then, all right, let's zoom out. What is kind of happening here? So let's do that. Let's zoom out. So let's go to the 3 minute. All right. So we could see here that this whole thing right here is just consolidation. If I had zoomed out, I probably wouldn't have been taking those trades, or at least I probably should have taken them on paper. But as I zoomed out, I realized, oh, this is consolidation, which means the next phase is manipulation followed by distribution. So we should see a manipulation move happen, and sure enough, that's exactly what we see. We see manipulation up right here, and then I'm looking for, okay, with manipulation, we then need to follow our criteria. We now need to see a swing low put in, and then we need a displacement candle through that swing low. We need then a fair value gap as well. And unfortunately, we didn't get really a good swing low as part of that move in NQ, and I should have recognized that and realized what that meant. Well, we'll talk about it in a second. Whereas on ES, we actually did get that swing low, and let's increase this a bit so it's easier to see. So that swing low happens right here, and we do get that displacement down through that swing low, and we're zoomed out here, but there is that fair value gap that forms right here as well. And let's see if I can actually zoom in on it. All right, so this is probably better to see. So there's that swing low. This is, of course, on the higher time frame, a displacement candle down. We do have a fair value gap that opens here, and it just so happens that that swing low is passing right through the center of that fair value gap. We put our shorts there, stop above the recent high, and target the lows. Now, I went in this heavy as well. I think I was in for 6 contracts, maybe 4, something like that. Here's where I messed up. This is a valid AMD setup, but what I didn't realize is that as this move down here happened, not only did it create an SMT, there's no further continuation, and I should have recognized that. Instead, I was holding on to the trade. I should have recognized it, and I should have closed out of the trade and accepted the win for what it was, but I didn't. And unfortunately, I let it go up a bit too high, and it hit my my stop loss because I didn't move my stop, and I should have moved my stop too, so that was another mistake. So anyways, the setup was perfect. The execution for the entry was perfect. The exit needs work. So this is a good example of being able to recognize when SMTs occur, displacements and continuation candles, making sure that those happen, because those are going to continue to add to your confluence that the trade is going to continue in that direction and in your favor. So just a couple notes for future learning. So overall on the day, I think I ended up technically I'm still green on the day, but not much. I think I'm maybe up by like $80, maybe $100, something like that. It's small. Again, I'm trading on micros, but that's because I'm still going through my learning phase. But I don't know, I feel like I'm getting better. So that's the review session itself. That's the trades I took today. 2 really good trades. One of those trades needs better handling on the exit portion. And then throughout the rest of the day, I was just kind of taking small trades here and there, learning other strategies. So, what about the rest of the week? Well, let's take a look. So for me, looking at the charts here, we did a whole lot of nothing. I mean, if you look at it, we're consolidating all day yesterday. We make this big move on Monday. Nothing yesterday. CPI today is just trading quite literally within a range, and we end the day not much farther than where we ended the day yesterday. So we really didn't go anywhere today. But based on the 4-hour charting, I would expect price to continue to run. We still have this entire range to fill, and above it we do have this huge order block on NQ. Yep, ES has an order block too. So that's where I'm thinking price is trying to draw to. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow or the rest of this week, but that's where I believe price is going to want to draw to, is this order block and possibly above that. So I'm going to be cautious in trying to look for any shorts going into the rest of the week. Of course, I'll take them if it presents itself, but it's going to have to meet very certain criteria. But also, I guess the opposite is true too, right? I want to make sure that for any bullish setups, I take that I'm meeting certain criteria and that I'm not just trying to catch a move or catching FOMO or anything like that. So that's the review session. I hope this helps someone. This is certainly a good reflection for me to come back and review. If you all have any feedback, obviously I'm open to that. If you guys want to talk about trades or charts or whatever, you want to talk about psychology, whatever, feel free to comment below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Have a good one.